Hello everyone, welcome back. So we'll start from the topics we left in the last session. I think we are talking about data types, and mainly we looked into the range data type, how it can be helpful, and what each of those elements in the range will have the index value, which all values are taken into consideration. Okay, so I hope you guys remember. If not, please look into the part one, the very first video of this session. Okay, so we'll continue from there. Okay. I'll just give a quick brief on the range. First thing is it is immutable, which means you cannot change the values of the range. They remain the same throughout. Okay. So you cannot alter, modify, or insert a new value in the uh, range of numbers you have generated. Okay. So nothing of that actions can be performed on range. That's one thing. And always remember the last element cannot is not considered in the values you generate. Okay. So like you can see here, if it is a 5, it is only till 4 it will generate, and it always starts from the 0 if you have not mentioned the starting point. You can also mention the starting point, something like this. It starts from 1 and end at 4. You can also mention the frequency. Okay. So we have seen all these three examples, and when we try to insert and value at a certain position, be it a 0th index, first index, second index, we see what kind of an error we come across. Okay, I hope things are clear. So from here we'll move to the next topic, that is escape characters. So which means you can use different kind of these mentioned characters here: new line, tab, break. Okay, vertical tab, single quote, double quote. Like I think we did discuss this very much in brief when we are talking about the print statement. So there we were able to see, like, okay, in my statement I have a single quote statement which also to be printed. Okay, usually the print statement is given in either single quotes or double quotes, but your own statement within that also have a single quote and double quote. So always how the compiler works, it looks for the starting of the open bracket, and then a single quote that is open, and then it looks for the immediate close. Okay, so we'll see an example on that. Okay, so what compiler get confused is, okay, there are four single quotes or double quotes in a print statement. So which one is the open, which one is the close quote, which might confuse. So for that reason, we use these escape characters to say that, okay, this single quote or double quote does not belong to the print statement. It is part of my statement which has to be there in my output also. Or if you want to say, okay, I want to print hello everyone and then welcome to Python training as a second line. So I will use a new line character. Right. So we'll see those examples. Maybe not everything, one or two. The rest of the things you can try, of course. Okay. So I'll go quickly to here. So these were all the examples we tried last time. I have already commented. So we have also discussed on one single line comment, multi-line comments. So just go through in case if you have landed on the part two of this session. Okay. So let us print this statement first using a new line character. Okay, I'll just comment this one and I will run this program. Let me clear the console for you and then run it again. So you can see till here, hello Raj is the first line, and then welcome to Python is the second line. Okay, so how I'm using the escape character is slash and then n. N is for the new line. Okay, similarly I can use tab. Okay, T is the shortcut to that. So when I run this one, it should have a space of 5. Okay, so you can see a tab is given between it, and here you can see the new line. Okay, so similarly you can look into other examples, you can try. Okay, try to print a, like I said, let me quickly do that. Let's print this much and see what it comes. So here you can see hello, and then your statement also have double characters. Single quote will keep it to only welcome to Python, and then we'll run this one. So you can see hello Raj, and then welcome to Python is in single quote. Similarly, you can try for double quotes and other stuff. Okay, I hope this is clear for you, the escape characters. Okay, there are more than this, not just limited to this one, but these are the main we use on daily basis. Okay, we want to format the output, we want to print something that is more readable and easy to eyes, right? So you can also explore more of these examples or more of other escape characters. Okay, we'll talk about the operators next. Okay, these are very common one which you might have already come across in different coding languages or even otherwise you would mostly know them. Okay, the arithmetics one, of course, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, module operator, floor division. Okay, so we will not spend much time or maybe not any time on this one because one or the other of these operators will be using it in our examples that we are going to write. Okay, so please pay attention to those examples so that you will learn all these at a time. Okay, you don't have to spend more time on these. Okay, just be careful on the equals. Okay, when you use only one equal symbol means you are assigning a value. When you're using double, which means you are trying to compare. Okay. Okay, and then we go to the next input and output methods. Like I said in the print statements, it's not always you give all the values in the print statement. Sometimes you take input from the user, okay, or from the terminal, and then you use that value in your print statement or anywhere. Okay, let us say I want to uh, mm, do addition of two numbers. Okay, so it's always not good to hard code the values. So what I would like to do, make it more dynamic, I'll ask user to give me those two numbers. Okay, so I take number one, number two, and then do the addition using my Python code and then give the print, okay, as an output. So in that case what happens, I can also print what was the number one value that was given, what was the number two value, and then final sum of it. Okay, so how are we going to do? So Python 2 and Python 3 both examples I am taking, but we'll be executing only the Python 3 currently. Okay, why I'm talking about Python 2 also in this case, because the syntax looks somewhat similar, and many of your codes, if at all they should not be, most of them are already migrated to Python 3. If not, if it is still outdated, you should be aware that how in Python 2 we used to take input from the users. So that's raw underscore input. So that's how we use to take the inputs from the users using Python 2. Okay, since it's already outdated, we'll more concentrate on Python 3. So in Python 3, the raw underscore is removed, only the input method is there. Okay, so it directly read the input from the user. It's always remember the input that you are taking from the user is in string data type. If at all you want to have it as an int, for example in our number one and number two, of course they have to be an int. I cannot do a addition of two string data types, right? So it has to be an int data type. So in that case you can convert those data types before you save it to any variables. Okay, we'll see those examples, but remember always whenever the input takes the values in the string data type. Okay, so here is an example. You'll also see once we go to the visual code and then write our own script. But here is an example what it's doing. We are storing the value in a x variable, taking the input from the user, enter the first number, and will also see the type of the x. So okay, what you are expecting is it should be a string data type. Even if I'm giving a number one, two, or anything, it's still taken into consideration as a string, not as a number. Okay, in that case, I can also give a combination of 123 Raj, 123 Python, or Python 3.12, right? 3.12, anything I can give. So because it is by default it is a string data type. Further, if I want to convert it to int or something, I can do that. Okay, so here is a multiple inputs from the user. Yes, at a time you can take, you can also take one at a time. Okay, so for example here x is for the first number, I will give a y as an enter the second number. So it's a two line of code. So how you can reduce that into only single line? You can take a and b equals, so I'm directly converting here int of x. Okay, so whatever the value that is coming for x in input. Okay, so I think we have not covered the for loop, while loop, or any conditional loops. We'll also look into that. But for now, what it's doing, for every x value that is coming from the input from the terminal the user is giving us, all those values will be converted to int type and then will be stored into a and b. So how are we asking? It can be asked in one line, it can be asked in two lines, right? So enter two numbers at a time. That's the only statement I'm giving. So user can give me saying one space two or one comma two, right? So it can be in any format. So how we want user to enter, that also we are mentioning here by using the split function. Okay, so whatever the number is being entered by the user, one space two. So space is a character that we are using to split those two numbers and make it to be stored in two different variables. Okay, so we'll run and see how this works. And we have eval function. Okay, we'll also see an example on that. And what else we have? I think one more example here, right? So it's a concatenation again. How are we gonna concat two strings, okay, in our output without using the concat function? You might have used the concat function in other languages, but here in Python, in the print statement itself, you can directly use them. Okay, how separate? Yes, we are here, we use split to separate the given values by the space. So somewhat similar, we are also going to separate it by comma in case there are commas between the values. And here is another example. Python is the one string value, we are going to end that with 3.11. So my output will be Python 3.11. Okay, this is nothing but a new line. Again, we have seen this escape character, new line. So if you just want to print one simply empty new line, you can also use directly slash n. Okay, so we'll take an example. I will remove the comment from here so that when you see the output, it's only related to the example we are discussing now. Okay, we'll quickly take one number one input, enter first number. Okay, and we'll print the type of it. So you can see in the console, in the terminal, it is asking me to enter the first number. I will enter 10, and you can see what is the type of it. It is string. So we don't want it to be string. We want to convert it to int. Okay. So how am I going to do? Int. Okay. Let us see this time. So you can change. So you can see it has changed to int. Okay. So that's how you take number one and number two. So instead of number one, I'll just make it. Mm, okay, we'll leave it that way. We'll take two numbers at a time now, n1 and n2. Okay, so int of all those values that comes for x in enter two numbers. Okay, print n1, print n2. Okay, so like we saw here, taking two numbers which goes in the square brackets int of x. We want to convert the data type from string to int, and then we want to store it in a variable a and b. In our case, it's n1 and n2, number one and number two, for x in input. Okay, for x in input, we are going to ask the user to enter two numbers, and then we are going to split it by the space. Okay, so I'll comment this part and we'll run on this. So 10 and 20. Okay, so you can see the space I gave while giving the input is being split using the inbuilt function. Okay, so if I want to print the sum of it, I can do n1 plus n2. Okay, so 10 and 20, 30 is my sum of both the numbers. Okay, I hope it is clear for you guys. And what else we have, can see? Okay, let's see the examples for concat. I have Python, and then want to, how are we gonna use concat function, that is using the plus. Okay, so if you are using a plus as a mathematical operation between the numbers, it will give you the sum. If you are using it between the strings, then it will concat both of those strings. Okay, so let us say if I'm not converting these two numbers, so 10 and 20 are my inputs. So what it does, 10 and 20, it will concat, it becomes 1020, 1020 as a one single value. Okay, so in this case, since we have already taken it into as an int, we'll see a normal example here, Python training. Okay, so let us okay, I think we don't need to do the same exercise many number of times. We'll comment this and run. So you can see Python training. If I want to have a space, maybe I can have it in the beginning, or I can have space itself as added and concatenated. Okay, you can have any number of values. It's not necessary to be only two values to concat. Okay, like how you can do the sum of any numbers. Okay, any, it can be one number, two numbers, three numbers, right? Similarly, if you are using a concat, you can also concat many number of strings. So if I run this, you can see Python, there is a space added and then training. Okay, cool. Similarly, end with, of course you can do the same. If I'm mentioning the end value, so it will automatically append after the string value that I have given. If I'm mentioning the start value, that will also do the same. Okay, I hope it's clear. Next we will see, okay, I think x value, we will see this also, right? It's good to see. So let me comment this part. So, okay, so what we will do is it takes a input as a string again. Okay, same like how we are using a input to take values from the user using the terminal. Here also we are giving it all by ourselves. Okay, take a string and evaluate the result of it. Okay, so what we are doing, 10, 20, 30, we'll give it as a string. Okay, so if you give only the 10, 20, 30, let's see what output we give. We'll get. Okay, so you can see it is coming as it is 10, 20, 30. So like in the examples in our slides, if I'm adding all these three, let us see what will be the value. So you can see it is doing the mathematical operation first and then considering the final value as a string and giving us the output. So instead of doing an add function or sum function, eval is something that takes these values as a string as a final. So in case if you want to print your final value, like, so for example, in this case input was taking by default as a string data type. then we are converting into in data type, and then we are adding or using our numbers in anywhere the rest of the function or rest of the script. But in this case, like how we want to by default give the output also as string, right? So maybe the next function, or let us say I'm returning value itself as a string data type, which is necessary for my program, because the next function want it in string data types. So I don't have to again go there and then typecast into string from into string. Then not required. So in that case, I can use this inbuilt function eval, and then perform whatever the mathematical operation I want here in between, and then send it back. So by default, it is gonna send my output as in a string data type. Okay, I hope you understand the usage of it. Okay, you have many options, but how effectively you can use it to reduce the number. Ultimately the goal is to make sure your program looks very self-explanatory, plus try to minimize the number of lines you write. That only you can do using inbuilt functions and the features the Python provides. That's why the Python is so famous, that you don't have to write so many lines of code to get to the you know output that you want. It has so many inbuilt features, you can directly call them, use them, and then get the output, and make your program or the lines of code smaller and looks more attractive and explanatory. Okay, always make sure you write and comment. Don't miss out that practice at all. Even when you're doing along with me by the side, please make sure you are writing one line comments. Okay, and then you are writing the examples below and practicing, so that when you go back, you don't have to worry about, okay, this example relates to which slide or which concept or which topic of the session. Okay. Okay, we'll come back. So here are conditional statements. So we are here. So we'll see if, else, while, for. Okay. So if and else, of course, it's again similarly a kind of an English statement, like you might have already seen or might have already coded. But in case if somebody, like I mentioned in the previous session also, if you're completely learning from the scratch about coding, you don't have any knowledge. It's like an English language. Okay. What is if, else, and then you also have else if. Okay, it is like having a plan. If I have 30 rupee, I will take a mango. If I don't have 30 rupee, then what is the option? I will either have 20, 10, or anything below to 30, right? So what I will purchase, I will purchase any something else. If I don't have money at all, then I'll not purchase anything. That comes in else, right? That is like you have three options available. So you can perform each one of them based on the condition it meets. Okay. Now let us say there is apple, orange, and mango. One cost 10 rupee, one cost 30, one cost 80. So if the rate of a fruit is equals to 30, I will go for orange. If not, I will go for apple. If both the condition doesn't meet, so there is no value for the fruit which is below 10 rupees. It's directly 80. So condition doesn't meet anywhere. So that falls into the final else, and then you quit the loop of it. Okay, we'll see example of maybe best example would be uh, greater number among the given three numbers. So here we can combine the example of taking input from the user. Either you take one at a time, or you take all three numbers in a one line of code. I would say go for it. Try that kind of a statement, so that you can get a better hands on the previous concept we covered. Okay, and then you convert that into in data type. Don't forget that it is in string. Convert that to int, and then store in your variables, and then you can use the else if, and then else statement. Okay, so that should give you the highest number among the given three. Even for the if, and else statement, you can still write it in one single line. We'll also see how we can do that. But before we go there, I want you to give it a try writing in a very standard or a very general format, how it is we have been using or hearing from our college days or anywhere in the previous course, right? So give it a try. I will also try by along with you guys. But remember, else if is we don't write it as a two word. Okay, it is elif elif for else if. Okay, else remains the same, if remains the same. Only thing that changes is else if into elif. Okay, so yes, exercise is that only. Okay, so maybe I'll give it 30 seconds or 40 seconds for you, because in the next slides we have the answer to it. We'll walk through and then we'll write, if at all, if you have not got the output of your desired. Okay, so at this point please pause the video, do it yourself, let it, let some errors come, even if you have made some many mistakes, and in the next slide we'll see the answer to it, and then you can correct it accordingly. Okay, but please do pause the video and then try it by yourself. Do not directly refer to the answer. Okay, so I believe in you guys, and then I will go to the next slide. So the exercise contains both minimum of three numbers and maximum of three numbers. Cool. So first we'll see the minimum of three numbers, how we are gonna do. So I have written it in a easy format. So you take A, B, and C in a three different variables and three lines of code, and then the one I was talking, how we can make if else statement in a single line. Okay, how it works, let me explain. Minimum is the final value that is going to store. Okay, that's a variable. So what it's doing, it will say value a is the minimum. Okay, so I'm deciding first. Okay, I want to play a guess game. Let us say I'm playing a guess game. My three numbers are there, a, b, c. Okay, so I want to consider a is the smallest. How that can happen? A can be small. How? If my b also should be greater than a, and my c also should be greater than a, so only then my a value is the minimum or the smallest number, right? So I'll keep a, I reserve a. On what conditions? If a is less than b and a is less than c, or vice versa, right? So b is greater than a or c is greater than a. So you write it however you want, but okay, I'm using one condition, that is if that should meet both the conditions. How I can make sure? And is the symbol or the word that we use to club two conditions, and both the conditions should meet. Okay, there is no option. If there is an option, but then again I cannot say a is the smallest, then it can be b also, it can be c also, based on the condition whichever it meets. So and or, these are all the logical operators, and is make sure both the conditions are met, or any conditions, any number of conditions that are there are met. Okay, then only you get the, or you can say that condition meets or condition is true. If you have like, okay, I want to say either b is greater, smaller, or the c is smaller. So in that case I can use club both the conditions in one line. I can use a or operator. So what happens now? Either left side condition is true or the right side. So you know the binary, right? So 0 and 0, the output is also 0. 1 and 1 is output is 1, because both are matching. If there is one mismatch, then we are going to use or operator to say either of them are true, then yes. Okay, so here in this case minimum, so minimum, a can be minimum for sure only when a is smaller than b and a is smaller than c. Else what happens? Else it is b. Okay, I got to know, okay, a is not the smallest or the minimum number. Then what I will do, I'll go to the next number, because I'm still playing the guess, I'm just guessing. Okay, so what I will do, of course I'll go to the next number if it is not. So since a is not the minimum, I know I'll completely throw that number. I don't want that number to be there anywhere near me, because what's the point? It's not the smallest. It has to be either b or c. So how I can declare it is b is the smallest? Only when b is smaller than c. That's the only condition left now, or that's the only thing I need to check, right? So what I will do, a, if a is smaller than b and a is smaller than c, else b is the smaller number if b is smaller than c. Okay, otherwise what? Okay, let us say now b is also, my guess was wrong, so a is always wrong. I already uh, lost A, and B is the next guess I had. Now B is also gone. So left out is of course C. So just like how you do a normal guessing game in your life, it's a similar way you write the code. You don't have to again write a big, you know, syntax wise if then I will do this, else I will do this. No, I'll blindly say A is the smallest. Okay, your opponent is asking, how are you saying A is the smallest? Because A is smaller than B and B also smaller than C. Simple. So whatever I am saying, I am writing here. Okay, he will say no, that's not. You lost 1 point. So you'll take a next guess. Either you have to say B or C. You can take any guess. So I don't want to go in sequence. I will say B, or you can say C. Anything is fine. Instead of you make it else C. If C is smaller than B, in here it comes B. That's it. Nothing else. Okay, you can write in any order. That's not a problem. Problem is every time you take a guess, how many conditions you need to check, and all those conditions I'm checking using only if. Finally, at last, I will use else to give up and say whatever is left is the smallest. Okay, I hope you understood. And we also use the f string here to print the minimum value. Okay, so the minimum number is, I will give it in curly brackets. So I think we saw these examples, the f string example in the previous session. So we have talked about the differentiation between the normal print statement and how the f string print statement works. Okay, so we can go through, or you can also practice. Okay, so it's only helps me to write it better, the print statement. Okay, so this is a very generic way how we write it in any other languages. Python is more giving this another option. You can club them together, right? So you don't have to again go back and write the values in sequence after the comma like we do it in other programming language and remember the placement for them, right? If I give different order, of course it goes in different order, right? So in this case what happens, f string is I can write here and then I can say the second highest number is, I will say B. I can write it as a normal English statement. Wherever the value is there, I will just put that in a flower brackets. That's it. Okay, simple. We'll see quickly the max number also, and then we'll write one of the code and execute. Okay. Similarly, ABC I have taken. Okay. When we do it, we'll write. See, you can see here how many lines of code has gone. So if I consider this print as only one, so one, two, three, and one is for our comparison, and one is to print. Okay. So 5 lines of code. Similarly, here 5 lines of code. We'll try to make it in 3 lines of code. Okay. Let's see, or we'll try to make it in two if possible. Okay. I have not tried it, but let's try it. Okay. So here again, I'm taking three values. How I'm saying A is the max, it has to be greater than B and C, right? If A is greater than C, else B is the highest. How? If B is greater than C, else it's a left out number. And I'm printing it using a string. Okay. Quickly we'll print or perform this exercise and let's see. So I will take A, B, and C. Okay. How it goes in square brackets, int of x or any value that we are taking from the user for x in input. Okay, enter three different numbers. Okay, it's better for our code, and then we are gonna split it using a space. Okay, so once our three numbers are there that are of int type, so I will do minimum. Okay, we'll go for the minimum of three, and then what I will do, I will declare a is the minimum. How? If a is smaller than b and a is smaller than the, okay, right? So it has to be smaller than b as well as c. Otherwise what we do, we'll go for else and then we declare b. Else it is b. How I am saying, if my b is smaller than c, else it is c. Okay, Okay, we give 10, 20, and 30, and 10 is the minimum. Okay, we can give it in other order also. We'll give it as 20, then 10, then 30. Still the answer is 10. If at all I want to print this whole thing, okay, this is 3 line of code. I will just try to reduce it to 2 line by printing the answer, by not storing it, but I want to print it directly. I will print the whole thing as in my output statement. Let's see how it works. So 10, 20, and 30. You can still get it. See, from 6 or 5 line of code, we reduced 3 and then we reduced it to 2. Okay, so that's how easy it is, and you don't have to remember the syntax and then make so many complications in your head. It's very straightforward, whatever you speak. Okay, when you are very well organized and have clear plan in your mind and you want to go step by step, sequence by sequence, that's how you speak, right? So that's what I'm writing. So that's not any different syntax that is involved. So if you are written it using if, elif, and then else, that is also okay. Okay, but there is a concept of indentation. You have to be careful on that part. Okay, what happens? Okay, we'll change this whole thing into this kind of a statement. Okay, using if. Okay, what will be my condition if? Same thing, if a is less than b and a is less than c. So indentation. So using a PyCharm or using a visual code, either way, the indentation concept remains the same. So what happened here? I typed my whole thing and then I press enter. So automatically there is a 5 space or a tab. That amount of space is added, which means it indicates the compiler after the if statement ending with the colon. Okay, so be careful. You have to use it. Otherwise, it reads, compiler will give you an error because if is a keyword, it's an inbuilt keyword, which immediately the compiler understand. Okay, here if is there, which means okay, there is a condition that should follow the if, and then it should end with a colon, and then there has to be an indentation if there is any action that is performed, be it even printing is an action in this case. So if I'm doing that also, it should be following the indentation. So when I, these tools will automatically give you that feature. Even if you have forgot to add an indentation, it will add a default indentation of 5. Okay, so what I will do here, I will say echo, I'll use f string. Okay, sorry, uh, print. Okay, I hope it's clear. Okay, if I am using elif, so what we used here, if and then else, how are you declaring b? Again you are using if condition, right? That is nothing but elif. Okay, so elif b is smaller than c. Remember, the indentation comes automatically. Okay, here I don't need to be inside if, right? So inside if, what I will do, I'll only print my else if don't have to be inside if, then in that case it'll fail. It won't give us the output that we are looking for. Okay, so elif b and c, I will again print the same, change it to be else. I don't have any condition because only one number is remaining. I'll kindly print that number. Okay, so let's see. So we give 10, 20, 30. Okay, so you can see from one line of our code it's 10. Even here it is 10. Okay, so if you have written this kind of a code, Still fine, not a bad thing, but yes, always try to reduce the lines of code. It will help you. It will make your program looks. Sometimes yes, I would also agree that yeah. So if somebody don't know the one line of if else statement, then it's a problematic, right? So here also, for is another loop which you use. It is actually multi lines of code, but we have again reduced it to one line of code, right? Somebody don't know the concept. Let us say someone from Java or someone from other coding language is looking into this one, and if they don't know this, okay, this is how we write in Python, then they might not understand directly. But if they have the similar format, yes, it's easy for them to understand and even read, even if they want to debug. So that's easy. But once you know Python, always try to minimize as much as possible. Okay, these are all the best practices. This is what even the best practices will suggest you. Okay, so for loop and while loop, we'll see these two statements, and then we'll now string operations. It's very interesting topic. Okay, we'll start with this concept in the next session, string operations, and then we have big topics coming, list, tuple, and all this. Okay, so I think with only one while looping statements, I'll stop here because I want to start list functions of list, tuple, and other data types in one session so that it is at one place, and these are very important topics, very very important. Okay, so that's why I'll try to wind it up here. Okay, not try, but yeah, I'm gonna wind it up here. We'll take the next iterative statements in the next session. Okay, I hope it's clear for you guys. Go back, change your this code into one line, two lines, try different methods, maybe take two strings and compare if they are same or not. Remember the equal operator, you have to use double equals when you want to compare. Okay, try all these. You can use not equals to also, and let me know if you have any error or if you have any question, doubt, or any stuff. Okay, feel free to put it in comment. We'll take it from there and then discuss those first before we start the next session, and then we get into the next topics. Okay, I hope it was helpful for you guys. See you in next session. Bye bye.